Hello and welcome. I'm Barkadat and you're watching the Mojo Story Live, our independent digital platform that does a deep dive into the biggest stories of the day. On the program today, we will take an in-depth look at the letter bomb from former Mumbai Police Commissioner Parambir Singh targeting Maharashtra's Home Minister Anil Deshmukh. Is his sacking now inevitable? Mumbai's former top cop is now moving the courts, demanding a CBI inquiry into what he's calling corruption. He is, of course, accused, the Home Minister, of asking contentious encounter specialist Sachin Vaze of collecting 100 crores in Hafta. This is a case that is getting murkier and murkier. It involves everyone from Mukesh Ambani to the Home Minister of Maharashtra. How do we make sense of all of it? Let's introduce our special panel of experts today. We have with us on the program Sucheta Dalal, one of India's foremost investigative journalists whose work on Harshit Mehta has been the subject of the most popular web series the past year, The Scam. Welcome, Sucheta. We're also welcoming to the program Vishwas Pathak of the BJP, senior leader of the BJP. Namaskar, sir. Welcome to the program. From the NCP, whose Home Minister finds himself in the line of fire, we have Dr. Asha Mirge, leader of the NCP. And we're also joined on the program by Miran Borvankar, who's of course been a senior IPS officer and has also served in the Mumbai police in its crime bunch at a time when the Mumbai police has perhaps never looked worse. Now, I'm going to get opening comments from all of you. We did also speak to Sanjay Rawat of the Shiv Sena, who's at the moment pointing a gun straight at Parambir Singh, asking why he didn't speak earlier. But let me start with you, Miran Borvankar, if I may. The police has never looked worse. Parambir Singh is now playing himself out to be the role of a whistleblower. But is that something that washes with you, given that, questions will be asked as to why he was quiet all this time?
Yeah, I agree. His letter has tried to expose what we call a Hafta system, about which all of us are aware. But the point is, why now? Why not earlier when all this was happening? Plus, isn't there a nexus between politicians and corrupt police officers? Why point fingers only at the politicians? So as citizens, we have to understand the timing of this letter, and pointing finger at a particular office, but not talking of one's own role. That's what I would say about this letter.
So you're saying that Parambir Singh at the moment is trying to make himself look better, but isn't really owning up to his own responsibility in this matter at all? I'm
saying he's silent about it.
So what does that make you think of him? Is he performing his role as a police officer?
I won't like to talk about his role as a police officer, but I feel if you have an unprejudiced opinion and you want citizens or the system to be improved, let's own up who all are involved, and let's not only single out one particular authority.
Okay, so I will explore that in depth, but before I come to Vishwas Pathak of the BJP and Asha Mirgi of the NCP, I want Sucheta to come in. Sucheta, one way of putting it is that nobody actually looks good in this whole saga. The Maharashtra government certainly doesn't look good. Parambir Singh certainly doesn't look good. Sachin Vaze, of course, looks terrible. But, where does the buck stop, as the cliche would go? And Sachin Vaze, of course, has a lot to answer for, as does the Shiv Sena alliance. But Parambir Singh now positioning himself as the whistleblower. How do we look at that role?
So if you ask me, I think it's very ridiculous. Let's look at the background. We're talking about the richest industrialist in the country, one of the largest business houses. Okay, this is a business house with, I think, Y-grade security, huge number of people outside. So one of the things that even the media is just not addressing is what was the motive. So when on day one, we thought that, there is a threat to the Ambanis. Now we know that it's not a threat from outside. We also were worried. I mean, as Mumbaikars, we were worried whether, we are now seeing the beginning of the time when we had bomb blasts all over the place and nothing was safe. And all of us used to say, we live Bhagwan Bharose. So now you have it that it was the police. And look at how the media is reporting it. It's so bland. So you look at an inspector, and the media reports will tell you he used 2 Mercedes cars, he had a Prado, he had a Scorpio. I mean, what was he earning? And he wasn't a princeling or anything. He's obviously earned that in his lifetime. I'm talking about Sachin Waze. He was getting into a Mercedes in the police commissioner's compound. Is this normal? Are all inspectors walking into a Mercedes in Bombay, in Maharashtra, in India? And we none of us seem to be batting an eyelid at it. So the motive, we don't know. Was it extortion from the Ambanis? Was it police extortion at that level? Or was it something else? This is not even being addressed. So the whole issue goes into different kinds of things. And the third is, what does it tell you about the security of Bombay if you're told that a police inspector changes the number plates on a car, is getting 5 burner phones? I mean, what is all this KYC and documentation for the rest of us? If this is what your police are, I mean, you read the story and you wonder, are you talking about policemen or are you talking about crooks? And all this is happening under Parambir Singh. Only when he gets transferred, because he is dumped into home guards, he suddenly wakes up to, what kind of extortion is going on, police transfers, money being paid. I'm sure Miran will tell you this is going on for years. When are the best people getting the best jobs in Bombay? Not at the highest level, not even at other levels. This is not something new. So he's making a noise because he was dumped into a department that he doesn't like, and because they said that he didn't conduct himself well. It's self-defense, if you ask me.
Yeah. So the Mumbai police behaving like crooks is a strong statement coming from Sucheta Dalal. Let's get Vishwas Pathak in. Vishwas Pathak, you've heard both Miran and Sucheta raise questions about the timing of Parambir Singh's letter bomb, so to speak. But the BJP, of course, which was targeting the same police commissioner, for being biased till not so long ago, suddenly is hanging on to his every word. Now, of course, Anil Deshmukh comes across very badly, but so does Parambir Singh, right, Mr. Pathak?
See, let's not give too much importance who is saying what. Rather, whatever is said, that needs to be adhered to, and we should look into that only. Mr. Devendra Fadnavis in Assembly very categorically said that Waze is a very small fry. We need to go into the handlers and controllers of this whole episode and look at the sequence of events. When Waze was to be booked, that time there was a lot of pressure, a lot of resistance from Chief Minister of Maharashtra, as well as Mr. Sharad Pawar, Anil Deshmukh, everyone. But when he was booked, then there was a real turmoil within the system. Then it came to Parambir Singh. Then Parambir Singh spoke out. The moment he spoke out, again there is a big problem kind of thing. And now it is a turn of Home Minister. Now there are two options available with this government: either to remove forcefully Anil Deshmukh or to continue with him. They cannot continue with him because now there is a huge amount of pressure built up all across the country. Now, if he speaks out, if Anil Deshmukh speaks out, then many more names will come. And that is what exactly who are the handlers and controllers is our issue. Now, I tell you one small thing. When this government was to form in very unnatural way, Mr. Sharad Pawar was to appoint Home Minister for Maharashtra. And some of the journalists like you in Maharashtra asked him, why are you not appointing your Home Minister? Jokingly, he said, I am not getting a proper person, or nobody is prepared. Probably he was waiting for the bidding. Probably he was waiting for someone to bid 100 crores per month, and then he was to appoint someone. It's a very serious allegation. And Parambir Singh, who is a serving DG, first time in unprecedented way in India, serving DG is saying so. And having said so, they came out with lame excuses saying that it is not signed by him. Today they may say that whatever is filed in Supreme Court is not signed by Parambir Singh. They were coming out with lame excuses. And today, the way Mr. Sharad Pawar was trying to defend him, why he should defend number one? The way he was defending and mixing up the dates and all that thing.
So where do you see this ending? Do you see this ending in the sacking of the Home Minister Vishwas Pathak, or do you believe that will only be the beginning of more big names tumbling out?
See, basically, if they delay sacking of Anil Deshmukh, then the fall of this government will come very soon. If they sack Anil Deshmukh immediately, probably their survival may be extended by a month or two. That's it.
So you of course believe that the government is on its way out. Sanjay Raut of the Shiv Sena in an interview to me said he was willing to bet with the BJP that the government would survive its term. But Dr. Asha Mirke, the fact of the matter is that Anil Deshmukh's position has clearly become untenable. Whatever we may think of the role of Parambir Singh, whatever we may think of whether Hammam mein sam gange hain, unki kya involvement thi ya nahi thi, would you accept that Anil Deshmukh, even if there is to be an independent probe, must step down?
No, I don't think he is to be stepped down. Firstly, I will explain you. You must have listened to Vishwas sir. Now only the Vishwas sir said that this unnatural government came in power. Why this government is unnatural? Yeah? As these people, they think that this government is unnatural. And then they think that something is to be done to come into the power again. So this leader of opposition, they are doing all these mischiefs. Firstly, they tried to drag the MLAs. They tried to drag the MLAs in the bad manner. They announced, बस within this date, अब ये तारीख को ये सरकार गड़गड़ेगी, अब वो तारीख को ये सरकार गड़गड़ेगी. No MLA from any of the three parties went out. Now they are using.
वो अलग बात है, वो उनकी पॉलिटिक्स है मैम, वो उनकी पॉलिटिक्स है. आप अनिल देशमुख पे जवाब दीजिए. Maybe BJP is trying to bring down the government. That is politics. But Anil Deshmukh का जो allegation है, Parambir Singh in his letter has included transcripts of WhatsApp conversations with another police officer, जिसमें डेट तारीखें लिखी हुई है कि किस दिन अनिल देशमुख और सचिन वाजे की ये बात हुई कि 100 करोड़ कलेक्ट करना.
I'm coming on that. Now they are using those bureaucrats of their head. First thing, those all the dates what they have given. Now it is proved. He was admitted due to corona from 5 to 15. It took that press conference in the campus of the hospital on the 15th. And in that PC only, you can read the news of the Times of India that I will be home quarantined for 15 days more. So what the dates are given in that WhatsApp and all that, in all those days, either he was admitted or he was quarantined at home.
So you are standing behind, your party is standing behind Anil Deshmukh.
Whole of the party. Because if someone is guilty, he is to be accused. He is accused and then he is to be punished. Only by one letter of that officer who did it on time.
Okay. I think Sucheta Dalal is wanting to come in. I'll just briefly let her come in and then play out a little bit of my interview with Sanjay Rawat. Go ahead, Sucheta.
Just one point, that this is not the first time that Anil Deshmukh is doing this. You remember the last time a police officer allowed the entire Wadawan family pretending that they are his family, and he was let off a quick inquiry in less than a month, and they don't do anything. So it's not that the first time Anil Deshmukh is doing something which is highly questionable.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. But in the meantime, what is intriguing is that Parambir Singh, the former Mumbai police commissioner, considered so close to the Shiv Sena-led alliance, Sucheta and Miran in particular, I think you'd be interested in this, now suddenly seems to have become the target of the Sena's attack. And they are basically passing the buck entirely, both for the 100 crore charge, as well as, interestingly, for the reinstatement of Sachin Baze himself. This is what Sanjay Rawat of the Shiv Sena said to me when I asked him why Sachin Baze had been reinstated at all. अच्छा, एक एक करके इसके जो इंडिविजुअल्स हैं उनको लिखते हैं. सबसे पहले सचिन बाजे की रीइंस्टेटमेंट क्यों की गई इन वायलेशन ऑफ अ हाई कोर्ट ऑर्डर. एक एनकाउंटर स्पेशलिस्ट जो 60 से ज़्यादा केसेस में इम्प्लिकेटेड हो, जिसकी एक कस्टोडियल डेथ में इन्वेस्टिगेशन हो रही हो. आज नारायण राणे ने कहा है कि संजय बाजे तो उद्धव ठाकरे के घर में रहता था, वो इतने करीब थे.
अभी देखिए, जैसे परमवीर सिंह कुछ भी बकवास करने लगे हैं, अभी नारायण राणे के ऊपर कौन विश्वास रखेगा. नारायण राणे ने 4 पार्टियां बदली है. नारायण राणे कभी हमारे पार्टी से मुख्यमंत्री बने थे. नारायण राणे कांग्रेस पार्टी में गए. नारायण राणे आज बीजेपी में है. अब अपोजिशन के लोग इस प्रकार से बात कुछ भी करें और उसके ऊपर लोग विश्वास करने लगे तो कैसा लोग
रीइंस्टेटमेंट क्यों. चलिए, नारायण राणे को एक तरफ रखिए. आप मानते हैं कि सरकार ने गलती की सचिन बाजे को रीइंस्टेट करके?
मैं ये नहीं कहूँगा गलती की. एक PSI या API उसको रीइंस्टेट करना ये क्या मुख्यमंत्री करता है, क्या सरकार नहीं करता?
तो किसने किया फिर?
देखो, एक तो पुलिस कमिश्नर करता है या DG जो होता है, पुलिस प्रमुख होता है राज्य का, वो करता है. आप हर चीज मुख्यमंत्री या गृह मंत्री पर थोप देंगे तो कैसा चलेगा। ये छोटी सी बात है, ये पूरे इतना बड़ा स्टेट है, इतना बड़ा मुंबई का पुलिस फोर्स है, उसमें एक ईपीआई को लिया है, उसके साथ और 5-6 लोगों को लिया है। तो मुझे लगता है कि आप ये सवाल अगर आप परमबीर सिंह साहब को पूछते तो अच्छा रहता ना।
तो आप कहते हैं कि जो रीइंस्टेटमेंट है उसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी परमबीर सिंह को लेनी पड़ेगी, वाजे की जो रीइंस्टेटमेंट हुई है।
देखिए, अगर उनको लगता था कि मिस्टर वाजे ये ठीक आदमी नहीं है और किसी ने उसको सिफारिश की है, किसी ने उसके साथ सिफारिश की कि आप ले लीजिए उनको, तो ये कमिश्नर का कर्तव्य था ये कहने का कि मैं उसको नहीं ले सकता हूँ। ये पुलिस फोर्स के लिए ठीक नहीं है, उनका रिकॉर्ड ठीक नहीं है, ये उनकी भी जिम्मेदारी थी, वो अपनी जिम्मेदारी से।
तो आप कह रहे हैं ये एक पॉलिटिकल रीइंस्टेटमेंट नहीं है, ये पुलिस उस समय के पुलिस कमिश्नर परमबीर सिंह का फैसला था।
मैं किसी व्यक्ति का नाम नहीं लेता हूँ कभी, मैं मानता हूँ ये पुलिस फोर्स के जो प्रमुख थे ये उनकी जिम्मेदारी।
So quite clearly there, disassociating from the political responsibility for that reinstatement and putting it entirely at the door of Parambir Singh. I just want reactions to this, Miran. Would you say that the buck is being passed entirely to the police by the political establishment? Because just like we said that Parambir Singh is possibly being a hypocrite, or being hypocritical, so is possibly the Sena-led alliance here, because they're saying कि अगर परमबीर सिंह को कोई प्रॉब्लम था सचिन वाजे की reinstatement से, तो उन्होंने तब क्यों नहीं बोला?
Yeah, so it's a collective decision. See, in fact, I was thinking, when we talk of police reforms, we keep saying कि establishment boards बना दीजिए so that decision about postings, transfers, reinstatement are taken by these boards. I have seen politicians sending chits. आई थिंक एक बार एक्सपोज भी हुआ था महाराष्ट्र में, इसको रीइंस्टेट कर दो, इसको ये वाली पोस्टिंग दे दो. सो दीज काइंड्स ऑफ चिट्स बाय द पॉलिटिशियंस और अनऑफिशियल इनफॉर्मल रेफरेंसेस, इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर अ कमिश्नर टू इग्नोर, बिकॉज द कमिश्नर हिमसेल्फ और हरसेल्फ इज सिटिंग इन अ सीट totally at the mercy of the same politicians. So if I am the commissioner of police and if my home minister tells me and my CM tells me कि आप सचिन वजे को reinstate कर दो, yes, some officers do take stand, some officers try to argue it out and some point blank agree. तो इसमें तीनों choices हैं, आप strongly disagree करो. I won't say that all politicians will become revengeful and take revenge, but most will note it down कि ये कमिश्नर तो सुनता ही नहीं है, whether that commissioner should sit on that chair or not. So one is total refusal by the commissioner, second is you argue it out, third is you agree. अब इसमें I have a feeling कि इसमें दोनों की मिली भगत है, both the political informal reference की ले लो and the commissioner who is said to be in the past.
So when you hear the Shiv Sena saying that it is the responsibility of Mumbai's former police commissioner to explain why Sachin Vaze was reinstated, you would say what, Miran?
That it's a lie.
That
it's not correct.
Sucheta, if you want to add to that, and then I'll take it back to the politicians.
I want to add a simple point that you had a former police commissioner, Mr. Subodh Jaiswal, who was well regarded, who quit because of meddling about transfers. I mean, they didn't listen to him. He quit in no time at all. So how can, this man tell you that it's got nothing to do with us politically? It's all political.
And where do you see it headed politically? Before I go back to the politicians, Sucheta, where is it headed politically? You heard Vishwas Pathak of the BJP say that if they sack Anil Deshmukh immediately, and I personally think that though Rawat said, why should it happen now? And the NCP spokesperson, Dr. Asha Mergue, saying why it will happen. Will that put a lid on this? Or do you think that's just the beginning of more skeletons tumbling out?
My worry is when something as scandalous as this happens, we're talking about the Ambani family. Okay, if there is a threat like this to the richest man in the country and there are no heads rolling and nothing happens and we manage to bury it, then we as a country need to worry, not because I'm a supporter of Ambani, but if he can't protect himself and he's quiet till now, what happens to people like me?
Yeah.
But I want to intervene.
Yes.
So this happens not only in this government, this happens in all the governments. That I want to really flag the issue, that these transfers, reinstatements only in the current regime, no, and that's what really worries me.
that it is the abject politicization of the police force, Meera. And I think that's really what we're actually talking about. Vishwas Pathak, I think that point has been made, that while the BJP has the political advantage in this moment, the shoe has also been on the other foot. You have a senior IPS officer confirming that. But talking about this case, how do you respond to the Shiv Sena now saying two things? Ek to Parambir Singh must answer why he spoke up about the 100 crores hafta only after he was transferred out. And two, if he had problems with Sachin Baze, why did he keep silent? Why did he keep silent? Is Parambir Singh now a hero for the BJP?
See, for us, whether it is Vaze, Parambir Singh, Anil Deshmukh, Uddhav Thackeray or Sharad Pawar, they are all one party. We are not considering Parambir to be our party. Maybe Parambir Singh, as a matter of defense, is using this tool. It is a matter of investigation, and therefore he should also be punished if he is found guilty. Point is that just because Parambir is saying so, we should not ignore the facts. Facts are that who are the people involved in this, what is this 100 crores, why those guillotines were planted, whether there is anti-terrorist move involved here, all such things are there. And now see, why he did not say so 10 days before or 5 days before is not really that important. I will draw your attention to one case whereby Mr. Sharad Pawar expressed and disclosed many things after 10 years in his autobiography. Therefore, it is always convenient or maybe intentional or unintentional, but whenever it comes to the public domain, action has to be taken. Therefore, inquiry should be conducted by a very impartial and high authority, not the way Mr. Sharad Pawar is mocking, saying that Mr. Ribello is an impeccable personality.
Well, Mr. Ribeiro has said no. Mr. Ribeiro has said has declined to conduct this inquiry.
DG cannot conduct inquiry for Home Minister. Therefore, Home Minister needs to be removed.
The Home Minister needs to be removed. I think everybody would agree with that except Dr. Asha Mirge. Dr. Asha Mirge, please go ahead. How do you defend the fact that Anil Deshmukh should continue? He should at least step aside till the probe is over.
See, only the opposition will say that the Anil Deshmukh is to be removed. Now everyone was saying that Sachin was staying with Uddhav Thackeray and our Honorable Chief Minister, and he was going to Varsha. I would like to tell you the connection of this Parambir Singh with BJP leader. His real daughter-in-law is daughter to the big BJP leader, Mr. Sagar Meghe. First thing. Second thing, now only Vishwas Dada said that some things our Honorable Sharad Pawar declared after 10 years, then he didn't demanded any unnatural, unreal demand, and there was no allegation on anyone else. He defended at that time only. He wrote in that autobiography for the sake of we Karyakartas to learn how to defend such people. You must have learned about Bora Kharna. He was bringing tak bhar purave. Till now he has not brought. So we are to be taught.
What does this prove? What is this personal रिश्तेदारी जो आपने निकाली है, इससे क्या साबित होता है? ये जो आपने personal रिश्तेदारी निकाली है, इससे क्या साबित होता है?
No. Just now we said कि what is the connection of Sachin Vaze? He was going to, he was residing at this Matoshri, and he was going regularly to Varsha. It has been said in media by the oppositions, Karyakartas and all that. So yes, he was going. He was there. He was a police officer, and these people, they are politicians. He has to go, but yes.
I don't understand. On the one hand, Asha ji, sorry, but on the one hand, Sanjay Raut said to me कि वो तो बिल्कुल छोटा जूनियर सा पुलिस ऑफिसर था, उसकी reinstatement में मुख्यमंत्री का क्या रोल होगा? तो एक छोटा सा पुलिस ऑफिसर will investigate the bomb threat outside Mukesh Ambani's house. एक छोटा सा पुलिस ऑफिसर will be given the Arnab Goswami and the TRP rating scam. तो कौन सा छोटा सा पुलिस ऑफिसर है जिसको इतनी बड़े-बड़े केसेस दी जाते हैं, आशा जी?
No. The case of Antalya was given to ATS, and ATS is doing perfect investigation of it. That's why only Sachin Vaze he can be guilty. He is
Rushed to the spot immediately.
I think Vishwas Pathak is going to come in. 1 minute, Asha ji. Vishwas Pathak ji, go ahead.
Sachin Vaze rushed to the spot immediately. Number one, he only conducted everything. Thereafter, he took over that case, rushed to the spot. He wanted to investigate, and having removed also, he was found at Thane Hospital, whereby he was dictating the postmortem of Mr. Viren. So I think it's very fishy thing. And Sachi has been always advocated by, defended by none other than Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Mr. Uddhav Thackeray. And why Mr. Uddhav Thackeray is still keeping mum needs to be understood.
And what is your allegation? 1 minute, Asha ji, you're on mute. I'll let you speak. I just want Vishwas Pathak to complete his point. Yeah. Mr. Pathak, what is your specific allegation on the relationship between Sachin Vaze and the Shiv Sena-led alliance?
See, our allegations are two. This 100 crores theory against Sachin Vaze, Parambir, then Home Minister and their bosses. They are all involved. So that needs to be investigated. Secondly, why Mr. Uddhav Thackeray called up in 2018 to Mr. Devendra Fadnavis to reinstate Sachin Vaze, and when he got an opportunity, he reinstated him and put him as his OSD in police department by giving all high-profile cases. Therefore, that also needs to be seen, investigated, and we are very sure when Mr. Devendra Fadnavis says so that their handlers and controllers should be identified.
Okay, I think Anil Deshmukh's position has become untenable, but that doesn't begin to get to the roots of this attack controversy. Now, Miran Borwankar, I just want to bring to your attention and to the attention of our audience that the Maharashtra ATS today has named Sachin Vaze as the main accused, in the murder of Mansukh Hirne. And, you have Sachin Vaze on the other hand making dramatic statements like, my life is going to end, this is the end of my life. And, I mean, sometimes you can't help laughing at this because this is so much more dramatic than any fiction movie could be. You had, the BJP saying, ye to ab tak chappan ki kahani and so on. Is it really this murky, the nexus between the politicians, the police, and the underworld and the entire hafta collection racket? You said that this has been happening for years. How bad does it really get? You've been in the crime branch of the Bombay Police. Talk a little bit about it.
It can get very bad if at both ends there are corrupt people. Like politician, the Home Minister and the Commissioner of Police. Sometimes, like when I was there, my commissioner was not into all this. So it cannot flourish. It's there. You cannot stop it because it has become so entrenched. But अगर एक पार्टी भी honest हो, either the HM is honest and the commissioner is honest, तो चलता है पर दबी आवाज में चलता है. It's not very blatant, very open. In the current situation, this nexus and extortion seems to have become absolutely we don't care at all kind. And what I am looking from your show, Barkha, is that in fact you should ask me how to get out of this hafta system. And I have been thinking, merchants, restaurant owners, bar owners pay because they are at the mercy of not only police, municipal authorities, various other authorities. So they find it, the only way out is that you collect and you pay and you are given freedom from the nuisance value of these various authorities, not police alone, I am re-emphasizing. And even as early when I was a DCP in Zone 4, which had Dadar and Matunga, an officer had come and said, Madam, agar aap nahi lenge, Marathi mein he had said, तर आपल्याला वाटतं की हे थांबणार आहे का? म्हणजे if you are not, you can at the most currently you can only do is I will not take. But my question to you and to myself is, how do we stop this so well entrenched nexus corruption where it comes out only if you are suspended, you are transferred, and action is being taken. Otherwise, all of us are together, including the merchant, restaurant owners, and police and municipal authorities, and food and drugs and various other.
It is clearly an entrenched sort of systemic malaise, and I will ask you whether there's any way out in the last comments. But just on this particular case, Sucheta, how do you see it going from here? Anil Deshmukh, in my mind, despite the denials by Sanjay Raut and Asha Mirge, will go. Will that give this government some more life? Vishwas Pathak seems to believe it's the beginning of the end for this alliance. He says it may last a couple of more months. Is that your reading? Is this
See,
what will cost the Maharashtra alliance, the government?
My reading is that this government has lasted quite well. They've handled things like COVID quite all right. And I think the minister has to go. There's no two ways about it. But while the BJP is playing an important role as an opposition, and kudos to them for that, what I would appreciate a lot more is if they went beyond saying that, blaming the chief minister and saying that the home minister has to go, will they commit to police reforms? I think we've got a police reform agenda for a long time. This whole business about paying for transfers and paying for recruitment is this big hot potato. And it's even during the BJP regime that you had these fires that happened. Now you know that if people are paying hafta, which is like an additional tax, which is a cash tax, no wonder that they're flouting all kinds of norms. So fire norms are flouted. People have died in several fires. Are they making a commitment that if we come, we will clean these 4 or 5 things and give us a commitment that they're going to do police reforms? Nobody wants to do it. As Miran said, it's not that they were, even during the BJP's time, we know at least 4 or 5 very senior, very qualified police officers who were given inconsequential postings. It's not that they were picking the right people. They had 1 or 2. But are they making any commitment on, a cleaner police system?
I think at the moment it's about sort of cracking the alliance. It's cracking the alliance. It's about realpolitik. I need to start taking last comments. आशा मेरी मैं आपसे दोबारा पूछूंगी. आप अभी तक तो अनिल देशमुख को डिफेंड कर रहे हैं, लेकिन शरद पवार आपके जो नेता हैं उन्होंने खुद कहा ये मुख्यमंत्री का फैसला है. It's up to the chief minister. These allegations are quite serious. And I think the point is it seems inevitable that Anil Deshmukh will have to go. What are your last comments, Asha Mirki?
See, our Honorable Sharad Pawar ji said, this is a serious matter, but at the state, and CM is having the authority to investigate it, to take out the truth, and to punish the guilty. Some of the Patrakar he asked, if Anil Deshmukh is guilty, then that is the decision of the CM. He may also to go. He said like that. One thing I would like to add, ATS is doing very good job in Mansukh Hiren's case. The Sachin Vaze was found guilty, so he was arrested. That shows.
But that's the same Sachin Vaze that Uddhav Thackeray was defending till 1 week ago. The same Sachin Vaze was being defended by Uddhav Thackeray.
Till then, he was not investigated. He is investigated, found guilty, and then arrested. And last but not the least, the case is being with Shivdeep Lande. This person was one of the group. He was not investigating as per Vishwas Dada said. Everything was investigated by such a small officer. No, it was investigated by the group of the officers. He is one of them.
And in fact, Lande on his Facebook post today said that the Hiren murder mystery has been solved. Sachin Vaze is the key person. So you now have Sachin Vaze being accused not just of murder, but also of planting those bombs outside the Ambani house. I just want Vishwas Pathak to come in on that, on the point that's being made that the ATS has done its job. Why did you need the NIA in this at all? Do you accept that? Do you accept what Asha Mirgi is saying, that the Maharashtra ATS has in fact named Sachin Vaze as the key accused?
See, as far as Maharashtra ATS is concerned, Mumbai police is concerned, NIA is concerned, they are all very competent and professional bodies. Why NIA was to be introduced, look at the sequence of events. When we demanded transfer of Sachin Vaze, Chief Minister directly defended him strongly, saying that he is not a Laden. Home Minister defended him strongly, and they delayed. They wanted to destroy the evidences. Then it came to Parambir Singh. They again delayed it. So again, we always suspected that there will be destruction of the evidences, and that is what exactly it was happening. And therefore, NIA was required. And because NIA was in the control, ATS maybe in hurried manner, they wanted to show that even we can do that. We never objected. They can always do that. They are a professional body.
Okay. I have to ask you before we go to Seema, Sucheta and Miran. I have to ask you, Vishwas Pathak. You made a statement saying even if Anil Deshmukh is sacked, this government will not last more than 2 months. What is your basis for saying that?
The basis for saying is very simple. If Anil Deshmukh is sacked, he is not sacked just for the sake of it. He will be sacked because of this ransom corruption. This is one ministry we came to know. There are many more such things. And I am very sure there would be many more such officers coming up, dislodging, and therefore this government, and anyway, this government is unnatural. Their common minimum program is just to make money, and because we are destroying their whole fundamentals, they will not survive for a long time.
Oh, okay. Miran Borwankar, you wanted to speak about the systemic cleansing. Every political party pays lip service to police reform. Every political party has a hatchet man in place. Sachin Wazi was clearly that hatchet man for this government. But Parambir Singh seems to be someone now who possibly is playing both sides or all sides.
I would rather talk about the fact that what the earlier panelist, Mr. Vishwas Dada, has said, that ATS, NIA, Mumbai police is a professional force. In fact, we are, including Param. All of us are professional, provided politicians stay away. Let police report for investigation purposes to the court. But the point is, we are not allowed to investigate in an independent and professional manner. There is too much interference, and because we are dependent for our postings and transfers on the politicians, they feel it is their right to interfere. So whether it is the current case or whether it is the past case, whether it is Shiv Sena, NCP, Congress or BJP, mind you, in the 4 or 5 years when BJP was in rule, was a citizen able to register his or her FIR without paying money, or was he received in a polite, sensitive manner? Was she dealt with like that? I see that no political party has been able to change the murky scenario in which police has gotten for last about 30 years.
Okay.
So I would rather concentrate on that the police reforms which Supreme Court has mandated, take it in your election manifestos, irrespective of party.
I mean, that is, no one can disagree with that, but I just don't see it happening, unfortunately. I want to ask you one thing before I give the last word to Sucheta Dalal. Miran, if you were Parambir Singh, what would you have done? What would you have done earlier, and what would you do today if you were in his position?
First of all, they would not make me the commissioner because they know I am independent minded. I will not listen to them. But if I were, and I was being pressurized to reinstate Sachin Waze, I would not have done. I would have definitely talked the politicians out of it. And if I had not succeeded, they would have made a mental note, but even they won't transfer you immediately. They would have 10 issues where you have not agreed, and only then they will shift you. So I would have taken a stand first against the reinstatement, and then definitely making him head of CIU in the crime branch. That is the most sensitive unit. And to give him a kind of free hand, I would not have done that.
So I think, Sucheta, almost every single protagonist in this murky tale has something to answer for. Like, there isn't anyone who actually comes out looking good, or is there? Last word to you.
Absolutely. Nobody comes out looking good. And we as citizens are really worried about what this tells you about the police, because they are the people that we're going to go to for help when something goes wrong. And if it is as murky as this, and there isn't a demonstrable cleanup for the citizens to see, I really think that, it's a matter of great concern for all of us. It's not about politics.
And what would you like to happen now? What do you think can happen now that can still contain almost this crisis for the Maharashtra government?
I think several heads have to roll. All this is drama-baji, if you ask me. I don't care about the Supreme Court case and whatever letters are written, because I think they all know what is going on. We need to have somebody clean heading the police. We need a few heads to roll. We need police reforms implemented. We need a policy on transfers. That report is pending. They are sitting on reports. So if there is a commitment that they want to be different, instead of asking a 92-year-old Julio Ribeiro to conduct an investigation, let's hear a commitment to actually clean up things, including transfers, appointments, as well as who's put where. I mean, one can make a list of top police officers who are just sitting in administrative jobs for the last 5 or 6 years or more.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I think the key is that several heads have to roll. Anil Deshmukh's position is untenable, but Miran Borwarkar is reminding us that Parambir Singh as Mumbai Police Commissioner also had options that he could have exercised and that he did not. But clearly a huge crisis, a huge challenge for the Maharashtra government and for the BJP at the moment, certainly a political advantage and lots to gloat about. We leave it there. Vishwas Pathak, Asha Merge, Miran Borwarkar, Sucheta Dalal, pleasure. And to our audience, thank you for watching. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. Goodbye and take care.
Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.